Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Edge of Liberty right here on the SHR Media Network. Poor Jim. For those who don't know, rumor has it Jim Acosta is out on CNN. His shows have been removed from their scheduling. And more importantly, with all the rumors flying around social media, he or CNN hasn't denied it. So, yeah, it's going to be a good day. I mean, at the end of the day, it's really, really going to be a good day. You might be asking what the hell happened to my face. I've been asking that for about 20-something years. But more specifically, I was trimming the goatee up, and I had a little accident. Accidentally, I didn't check the guard. You know, sometimes you just don't pay attention. I didn't check the guard on my trimmer, and I accidentally gave myself a reverse Hitler. And at that point, it just all had to go. So I apologize that even more of this is exposed. That's not what I wanted to do to you tonight, but unfortunately, you got to deal with it. By Friday, it should mostly be back. My running joke for years, if I sneeze and hold my nose, I could grow a beard. So it should be back pretty quickly. I apologize that you have to endure this evening. Thank you to everyone in chat who's popping in already. BZ's in there. Big E, Mission Ready Men's in there. Thank you so much, gentlemen. And everyone else who's pouring in. Wherever you're listening from, you can just jump over to YouTube, SHR Media on YouTube. Like, subscribe, and join the chat there. That is the best way to chat with me. There are other ways. I can see through Twitter and other places, but that's the most direct. X is hard for me to see because I have to go back to it. And also, Rumble doesn't cut through to here. So if you want to be part of the chat, SHR Media on YouTube is the best place to go. So I want to start this evening talking about Jim Acosta and what led to this. You know, I've talked a few times on this show specifically. I've talked on other shows all the way back to the Sackheads days with all of my cohorts about how media, legacy media specifically, is slowly killing itself. And we all know it. It's not like it's a surprise, right? But one of the things that legacy media did, here come all the babyface jokes, which is funny because I have a face like a baseball glove, but that's okay. One of the things that media did is they have this tendency to try to jump on a story right away. No matter, they don't vet it. They would just come out and say the most bombastic shit and then never, ever, ever apologize or walk it back, or rarely. And look, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been wrong, and I've admitted when I've been wrong. It doesn't happen often, but it happens occasionally. But you have to admit it, you have to own it. Nobody's 100% all the time. Most of us are pretty good. We follow politics, we follow news, you can see where the cycle's gonna go. Jim Acosta is another, I don't wanna say victim, but he did it to himself, along with many others who have done it to themselves. Don Lemon, um, what's his name? His brother was the governor of New York there, Chris Cuomo. The list goes on and on. And what they did is they've put this sort of sensationalized, be the first to report it, don't walk things back approach to media into leftist influencers. Now, we can all joke about them being influencers. I'm on social media. I'm not an influencer. I don't influence many people, I don't think. But they have pushed that into their influencers. And none is it more obvious than Harry Sisson. And I know there's a million jokes you can make about his name. You don't even need to. The guy's his own joke. Listen, I know a lot of my partners, they all have nicknames for everybody, and I have some for few. Harry Sisson's just not impressive enough to me to make a joke about his name. It's a softball, it's easy. He's just a twerp. He's a dweeb on the highest level. And this weekend, he proved that he has nothing, no single thought in his head but what he's told to say. Remember, he got paid tons of money by the DNC. He was pushed on by the DNC. These influencers got famous because the platforms they were on were in cahoots with the former government to push them, and the media to push them. The left drove social media for years. So these people got popular because the media companies were told to put them in front of people. And this is what you get when you have somebody like that who's considered a sweetheart of the DNC. And watch this. This video is a great, great video by a guy whose name is Greg is Fire. And he links in Harry Sisson and proves a valuable point.
Trump has been president for less than a week, and the United States is already in a trade war with Colombia. After getting the United States into a trade war with Colombia, Donald Trump decided to call it a day and then go play some golf at Mar-a-Lago. While people around this country are worried about what this trade war means in terms of prices going up, can they sell their goods abroad? Donald Trump is doing just fine, sitting in Mar-a-Lago. Major update to the possible trade war with Colombia. The White House has now said that Colombia has agreed to all of Donald Trump's demands and that there will be no tariffs for now.
And I got to stop it there because YouTube will demonetize me for that song. But it brings up, it shows you, as soon as Colombia was like, I think it was Colombia was like, oh yeah, we're not going to take our people back. They immediately jumped all over it. People like him. Oh, Trump screwed up and they're not going to take it. What's he going to do? It's like, dude, have you ever seen Donald Trump operate? Taking no for an answer is not something he does well. It's almost like the guy has been shot, persecuted, wrongfully prosecuted, has had his whole life ripped apart, and now he just doesn't care, and he's going to run the country that way. It's really almost like that's the guy you were dealing with. And this happened before. The last time Trump was in office, I forget what country it was, but they were refusing to take back their illegals that came here. And Trump did almost the exact same thing, if memory serves me correct. But I want to have this conversation with Harry. Come here, you and a couple other ones. This is a story about shame. And just like the most, not shame, just a moment in your life where things got really awkward. I'm going to tell you one of my most awkward life stories. I was about 22, 23. My buddy and I were dating a girl and another girl, and they were friends, and it was kind of like a it was always a couple's date for the first couple times we went out. It was great. It was fun. We had a good time. The gal I was dating was a very happy-go-lucky, bubbly person, very sweet, very nice, whatever. And one night we were meeting them at a bar, O'Keefe's on Ferry Street. Big E knows it well. And as we walked in, I saw her face was weird, just real sad and downtrodden. And I walked up, and me being the smartass that I am and just trying to use humor to diffuse an obvious bad situation, I could tell she was just not happy. I said to her, what's wrong with you? You look like somebody just ran over your cat. She got up, started crying hysterically, and ran to the bathroom. Her friend looked at me like I was Satan. And it dawned on me almost immediately, but then her friend said, her cat was just killed 3 hours ago in front of her house. And that was one of the most awkward moments of my life. I felt like a jackass. I felt awkward, and it was unbelievably horrible to sit there for a minute. And one of the things I learned about that is to maybe change my approach in certain situations. Harry Sisson and all those other influencers, the left, the DNC, have not learned anything like this. They have not learned from their mistakes. They have not learned to not just jump the gun. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for them. And I'll tell you right now, I used to get joy out of watching the media and the left just have it jammed right up their ass when they do stupid things like that. But now it's just so pathetic. You know, it's like the town drunk who keeps trying to fight everybody, and after a while, you're just like, oh yeah, that's Bill. He tries to fight everyone. Just walk away. Like don't even pay attention to him. That's where it's at with people like Harry Sisson and the rest of the leftist media who are trying to just blurt things out, cherry pick, blah 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 blah. It kills me. You have to reflect a little bit. You have to look back. You have to have a little introspection and go, maybe I should, maybe, yeah, man, maybe this is a good time for me to change something a little bit. And you see, there are some, look, CNN fire Acosta is a sign. I think they're going to start. You see even Bill Maher and some others where they're coming back to reality. Speaking of coming back to reality, I got a good one who's coming back to reality. Let me find it. Because this one, I mean, this one almost blew the tits off me when I saw this. I couldn't believe this is the same person who I have insulted, tore apart, he was one of the most, and I'm pulling it up now, he was one of the most unbearable leftists for years. For years. And now he drops a tweet, and I know, of course, it's going to be our post, rather. There it is. I knew it was going to be all the way to the top of my list. He drops a post like this. This is Cenk Uygur. The Colombian president started the fight on accepting undocumented immigrants back into his country. His main complaint was that they were coming on military planes and that was inhumane treatment. Good news, you can treat them as humanely as you want when you have them back. Did Trump threatening sanctions work to resolve this? Yes, that's a fact. Was there much substance to the original complaint? To be honest, no. I think the real substantive fight is over who to deport. If they're convicted felons, their comfort on the plane is not my top concern. This is Cenk Uygur. It is the most amazing thing to see leftists not. Do I think there is some who maybe actually like see the writing on the wall? Yeah, maybe. Are there some that are just trying to be on the right side of history? Of course. Of course, there are some who are trying to be on the right side of history. There are some who are just trying to get some sort of credibility back into their little nether regions. But when you have lost Cenk, man, you done messed up AA Ron. Just hugely messed up. Oh, yeah. No, I remember that in 2016. BZ brought up, we were on the air when Trump won and Cenk was crying and we were laughing our asses off. Yeah. Especially because the Young Turks that night were so over the top convinced that Trump was going to lose, it made it that much more sweeter. And this brings me into immigration because, man, what a week. It's only 7 days in, ladies and gentlemen. 7 days into the Trump presidency. And you have things like this being brought up again, which, look, I'm all for it. And I'm going to tell you my whole plan, the same one that we had on Sackheads when Ron Paul brought this up. Mike Lee, what are letters of marque and reprisal, and how can they be used to weaken drug cartels? You can go into the whole history. I'm not going to waste my time. But essentially, the U.S. government, and it's not a waste of time, I just don't have that much time on the show. Essentially, the U.S. government says, hey, it's a bounty. It's pretty much a bounty. The long and short, you get an official letter of marque from the government. When we first heard about this, Ron Paul wanted to use it to stop the Somali pirates. This is way back when the Somali pirates were really out of control. And at the time, Sackhead Clinton and I think BZ may have been around when this was starting, we had the best idea. You get an old decommissioned aircraft carrier. We joked about using the Hornet, one of the diesel ones. But you just, I think the Texas is being put to scrap right now. You could use that because I think that was a diesel. It doesn't matter. You get one that's an old diesel, and you set up the top flat top, almost like hunting blinds, and you get everybody with a letter of marque to come on board, and off we go. And we can do week-long cruises, and we can mix it with other things. We don't have to constantly be hunting pirates. We can just have parties on the Lido deck, if you want to call it that, or whatever. Who cares? You turn it into an adventure cruise. You make it fun. We confirm everyone's letter of marque. We get one for the boat itself, and boom, off we go. Let's go hunt cartels. Let's go hunt their boats. Let's go have fun and save the country while we're doing so. This is a brilliant idea. They'll never pass it. I know the letters of marque will never come back. I know for those of us who wish they would, I'm too old to go chasing Mexican cartels through the desert or anything like that. It's a great dream, but no, we will not host the pirate flag because we're not pirates. But it tells you what is going on in this country, what change is coming. It shows you that, and I know that's Mike Lee, but if you look at the responses on there, it shows you that this country is finally starting to go in the right direction and people are here for it. Look, this is from OSINT Defender, Air Force C-17 from Travis. Stopped off in El Paso, picked up some illegals, and off it went. It dropped them in Guatemala City, and it's heading back to refuel, reload, and head back out again. Are you tired of winning? 7 days in, the flights already started. Look, Tom Homan was in Chicago last night with ICE interviewing people they were arresting. The border is starting to be built again. It's already underway. I have pictures of it here somewhere. I'll look them up. But I cannot tell you how amazing it is to see a president following through with promises. And I'll tell you something right now. If you like him, don't like his policies, whatever. The simple fact is, you're seeing a politician who says one thing and actually does it. When he was running for office and he's making these promises, he's not catering. He's not pandering to the American people. He's giving them what they asked for. The American people asked for this. And look, I think it's the 29th. I have it saved here. The Lake and Riley Act is going to be signed by Trump. Another victory for the Trump administration. More protection for American citizens. And why do we need that protection? I'm going to play a video right now. This is from just a few hours ago of why the cartels need to be dealt with like a paramilitary force. Watch this video. I'll be right back.
Just across the river, yards from U.S. soil, Cartel gunmen stroll along the riverbank, armed with rifles. They control the border in Mexico. Some aim AK-47s at Texas DPS helicopters. Others go to war with each other, with Texas DPS thermal drone video showing cartels throwing explosives at each other during a battle for control of the area.
All the activity that's been happening, all the violence that's been taking place right across the river within several hundred yards from where we're at right now.
Texas DPS's Lieutenant Chris Olivares tells Fox in October, Texas had enough. The state declared Fronten Island Texas property and began bulldozing it. All of it. Brush was cleared, razor wire was deployed, and the area was fortified.
And that was from Fox News. But earlier today, which was the whole point of this, is that cartel members fired upon U.S. Border Patrol at the border. And I think, look, they're testing. They're testing to see the response. I get that. They need to get the firmest answer that they can possibly get. The response needs to be heavy. It needs to be quick. It needs to be brutal. And this was just tonight. The video I showed you was a couple years ago from Fox, but tonight, and I had that somewhere. I don't know where the hell I put it, but they shot up at Border Patrol this evening, and it's not the first time. It's happened numerous times. But now the difference is we're going to actually have more Border Patrol agents to enforce the border. The wall's going up because the military is showing up and they're helping build the wall, and they're helping to staff the detention centers so Border Patrol agents can go back out and combat illegal immigration. And look, there's a lot of people, as soon as we get into this, they're like, well, asylees, and yada, 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 yada. Go to the point of entry. That I'm not even having that argument anymore. I'm so annoyed. Go to the port of entry. All right. You're talking about 0.5% of people who have legitimate asylum complaints. Go to the point of entry. It's just ridiculous. They're getting desperate. And I'll tell you right now, if Trump actually unleashes the full force of the military against these cartels, I will tell you something right now. A lot will change in this country. A lot of these illegal guns that are on the street will change. A lot of fentanyl coming to the border will change. Less deaths. Crime will go down. Schools will be less impacted. Hospitals will be less impacted. Neighborhoods will be less impacted. All by taking the cartels out. Because I'll tell you right now, the cartels run these coyotes who get people over the border. I'm not making that up. This didn't come out of it didn't just fall out of the sky. They run the cartels. The coyotes. The cartels run everything that comes over our border. They're not just drugs. They're not just guns. They're also people. They're other contraband that make it into this country. The cartels need to go away. And if they want to fuck around and find out by starting to fire at our Border Patrol, guess what? You're only asking for hellfire at that point. Because at some point, we know this president, he's going to say, yeah, fuck it. All right, let's start sending some heavy munitions. We know where they are. And before everyone says, oh, Mexico would never allow it. You know what? Mexico is allowing, it's just like when terrorist, third world countries allow terrorist organizations to operate within their country. You're allowing this. And it's affecting our country. And if you don't stop it, we will. And I'll tell you right now, you think the average good Mexican citizen that's living in Mexico would not be thrilled to have the cartels gone? The average person. I'm not talking about the ones who run dope and all that other stuff. I'm talking about the ones who have legitimate businesses. Because look, if you've never been to Mexico, there's some amazingly beautiful places in Mexico. There's some great little towns. They have a lot. They could potentially have a lot going on. It would be a better ally for America, a more profitable ally for America, and profitable for themselves if the cartels no longer existed. That's a fact. because the cartels shave money off of everything, including government. A lot of these resorts, I am told, pay off cartels to keep the crime away from the resorts. The cartels run the country of Mexico. They murder people who get in their way at the drop of a hat. They don't think twice about it. And I hear about women and children and what are they going to do when they're deported? Nobody talks about the women and children the cartels brutalize and murder. And they don't care. They don't look at them like people. The cartels are terrorists. And they need to be dealt with appropriately. So, I'm all for it. Because right now, the change that's happened in this country, the progress that's happening, the momentum we're starting to pick up, the steam we're starting to get as a nation, we need to keep putting wood on that fire. We need to keep getting better. American exceptionalism used to be just the way it was. That's how we used to be as a nation. We were just exceptional. Perfect? No. Exceptional? Yes. We did a lot of great things. Great things. Worldwide and domestically. A lot of those great things are looked down upon now. Being successful is looked down upon now. And then when you actually start enforcing your borders and deporting bad people, and I'll tell you right now, the amount of bad people that they're going after first, and they're going after the hardened criminals first, the ones they know have records, the ones they know have committed crimes here. They're going after them first. And collateral damage. If you're in the house with them and you're illegal, sorry, you should have picked better friends. But they're not going after the 8-year-old that's in school, despite all of these schools in Chicago and other places. I'm going to show you a little card that they're handing out, telling you how to duck ICE. But the biggest problem that we have is we've stopped being logical about our border. The Democrats hijacked logic for the border with emotion. And then you get somebody like this, who I'm told is a famous person. The woman, the girl's name, she's an actress and a singer, apparently. I don't know. I'm not going to lie. I don't know. I think it's Selena Gomez. I've heard that name before. She released a video on, I think, Instagram, crying about the illegal immigration, or the illegal immigrants being brought back to their countries and repatriated. And she's since pulled it down. But then you get all of these amazing videos. I love the internet for this. I love the internet for not wasting any time whatsoever. It is I'm not gonna lie when I say I watched that probably 15 times in a row, just laughing hysterically. Not that the illegal immigration problem is funny. I mean, it's not, because it affects us so poorly. But just to see people react that emotionally and viscerally when they ignore the damage that gets done in this country. And then you have what's her name there, the president of Mexico. I can't even remember her name. I know someone's going to correct me in the chat, but who's talking about how the Mexican immigrants only make America better. They're better for the economy. They're better for this. Then why aren't they doing that in your country? And I'm not being a dick, but that argument that's been around for years has always blown my mind. They do so much for your nation. Why do you want to get rid of them? If they do so much here, why don't you want them back? We know what the answer is. Yeah, President Scheinbaum. Thank you, BZ. We know what the answer is. We know why you don't want them back. But stop throwing that out there. Stop throwing it out like we're legitimately losing out by getting rid of criminal aliens in this country. And that's what we called them for years on Sackheads. And I like that term, criminal aliens, because their first act is to cross the border illegally. Hence, they're criminals. And they need to be treated as such. Look, good immigrants, the ones who come here legally, the ones that want to live the American dream, embrace our culture, be part of our communities, go for it. I'm all for it. I hope you are more successful than I could ever imagine to be. I hope your children grow up safe. I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. Yes, immigrants built this country, but the influx of criminal aliens have destroyed a large part of this country. I'm up against a break. When we come back, I'm going to call out some media BS once again. I got a couple other things to round off the hour right here on the Edge of Liberty and the SHR Media Network. Please like, subscribe, check out our friends at KLRN who are simulcasting. My good friend Rick over there. Back up.
Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRN Radio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRN Radio.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high-quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this. You rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl Gear. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic woman who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. Because life's too short for stiff, boring tees. CarryGirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
Welcome back to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHR Media Network. Simulcast, KLRN Radio. Wherever you're watching from, please do me a favor, like and subscribe. Help us beat the algorithms. We love it. We appreciate it. We need it. We crave it. Thank you so much, you group of little freaks, for joining us. Cheetah popped into the chat room. Cheetah, always a pleasure to see you. Last week talked about some of the executive orders that Trump passed, and one of them was ordering federal workers back into the office. And this federal worker, who's since scrubbed her social media from what I hear, she goes by @Jen Custa, maybe? I don't know. Watch this. This is the mindset of some of these people that work for you and me, by the way.
Oh, it happens. What a way to end the week. 5 o'clock on a Friday. Got our notice. Effective March 10th. We're back in the office 5 days a week. No telework. And that's the most fucked up thing, is not only did you issue this executive order, Cheeto, but the executive order trumps, pun intended, and rescinds any previously agreed upon telework agreements. So before, I was able to telework once a week when I was in the office every day. Now no mores. I'm so upset. I am so mad. And honestly, I also feel for the parents. They're going to need to figure out childcare. They're going to have to commute. So many people don't live in DC and have to drive so far every single day. Like, this fucking sucks. This sucks. And the crazy thing is, we've only just begun. We're just getting started on all of this fuckery.
Don't work for the federal government. Look, I've said this before and I say it again. Some situations, remote working is absolutely fine. But the reality is, if your boss tells you no more remote working, no more remote working. And I know we talked about this on Jersey Joe's show a couple weeks ago. There absolutely are there plenty of federal workers who do nothing? Yeah. But let's be honest. Look, you have a percentage of the IRS, a large percentage, threatening to quit, mostly the enforcement arm. Why? Because Trump's threatening to push them to the to immigration. They're federal agents. They've gone through FLETC. They have all the rights in the world to be transferred. And you can go, they have the same training. They would just need some field training. And they're threatening to quit. Why? Well, you know why. Because they thought they were going to go after and investigate the person making $85,000 a year that maybe try to itemize their return. You know, somebody with a job and something to lose, right? They didn't think they'd be chasing actual bad guys. They didn't think they would be in the desert. But guess what? You signed up for the job. Law enforcement's law enforcement, pal. LAR, law enforcement. That's what it is. It's the nature of the beast. I'll tell you right now, some of the most cush jobs in law enforcement, both federal, state, and local, still every once in a while have to go put on their vest and do real work. And what's going on over at the DOJ with Trump in office? And I love Politico because it's just so alarmist and bullshit. And I am honestly, I'm not going to be surprised if I get blocked by Politico at some point for all of my BS tweets that I throw at them because they annoy me. This was one of their headlines. Week 1 inside Trump's DOJ. It feels like a non-violent war. Really? Really? Because I'll tell you something right now. If you were just doing your job and you were just doing what you're supposed to do, guess what? It wouldn't be a nonviolent war. You wouldn't have any issue. Because that's your job. Once again, if you're working for the DOJ, whatever unit you're assigned to, whatever task you're assigned to, that's your job. It should be non-partial. No matter who the president is, it should not change how you approach your job. But it clearly is. People threatening to quit. Okay. Then you don't want to defend and uphold the Constitution. You want to pick and choose who gets prosecuted and who doesn't. That's plain to see. When you start threatening to quit because there's a new commander-in-chief that actually wants you to do your job. And what happens when you don't do your job? Well, our friends at the USAID are finding out. At least 56 senior officials in the top U.S. aid and development agency were placed on leave amid an investigation into an alleged effort to thwart President Trump's orders. You fuck around, you find out. You fuck around, you find out. He's the boss. Whether you like it or not, he is the boss. Once again, you knew when you took this job that presidents would change, that different presidents would have different policies. And when you took that job, you should have been okay with it. When I got into law enforcement years ago, nobody told me, hey, there's a chance somebody's going to try to stab you in the stairwell of a 3-story walk-up. Guess what? I just knew that was an inherent risk. Is that in the job description? It might be now, but it wasn't back then. There was like a small article about the danger of it, but the focus of integrity and all that other stuff was what was important. You know, when you take a job, if you are an intelligent human being, you know when you take a job, especially a federal job, that your boss is going to change 4 or 8 years, hands down. And when you turn around and you're part of a cabal or a conspiracy, depending on how you want to look at it, to thwart that commander-in-chief's direction, then guess what? You no longer work for the American people. You're working for a specific ideology. You're working for a specific belief that doesn't match with the American people and the current boss. And you shouldn't be there. You shouldn't be getting paid taxpayer dollars. If you're asked to do something illegal or underhanded or seedy, like, I don't know, bug an incoming president's office, then, and if you do that, like it's part of your patriotic duty, like, I'm going to see if I can undo the will of the American people. You are not acting on behalf of the American people. You're acting for the deep state. The one thing, they call us tinfoil hat. Oh, the deep state. You bring up the deep state. Look, all these people are part of the deep state. These people are exactly what we're talking about. Some more active than others. I have had plenty of bosses that I have not liked. I have been a boss, and I'm sure I've had plenty of employees that probably didn't like me either because I made them do their job. But to their credit, minus a few and mine, I never punished them for not liking me, and the vast majority of them did their job just fine. Did we have some disagreements? Absolutely. Was it respectful? To their credit, it was, because I wasn't asking them ever to do anything illegal or unethical. I was asking them to do their job. Maybe there was disagreements about how to do your job. Well, that's life. Come have a conversation. A conversation. Don't start getting into a conspiracy on how to thwart what I want or what the boss wants. You come have a conversation. Hey, I'd prefer to do this. I'd prefer to do that. And they're all upset because foreign aid's been frozen for 90 days until we figure out exactly who we're giving what money to and why. And they're all pissy about it. They're all pissy because they can't just give your money away. But Trump shows up in North Carolina with J.D. Vance last week, puts everyone in a hotel, doesn't get enough news coverage. I saw pictures earlier today of the Army Corps of Engineers down there starting to work on bridges and roads at Trump's orders. And it blows my mind that could not have happened before January 20th. As a matter of fact, just before January 20th, FEMA was trying to kick them out of the hotels. Remember that? And then it caught wind and the story took off and they stopped. Not all of them. As we talked about before, the people of North Carolina are still suffering greatly. There's still hundreds of people missing. It is still a major disaster zone down there. And it took Trump and Vance a quick trip to get things going again in the right direction for them. Same thing when Trump went to Florida and met with fire victims. He actually let them come to the microphone and speak because it's about them. It's not about Gavin Newsom, who, by the way, is now rolling back a whole bunch of red tape for the rebuilding of the Palisades and Eaton area or Eaton Fire area. It blows my mind how leftists will suspend their own red tape to speed up a process, otherwise proving that their red tape is just obstructionist bullshit to get more money out of people. And he's doing this, once again, Gavin Newsom is not a virtuous person. He's doing this because he's trying to save his ass from being recalled, and he's trying to save the next presidential election because he's going to run. This isn't because he's a sympathetic person. He gave an interview a couple days ago. He was an outright asshole. You think I'm an asshole on here sometimes? He made me look like a sweetheart. But this is what the left does. Everything is for political gain. Biden could have had those people in houses in North Carolina. He could have had the Army Corps of Engineers down there. He could have had the full force of the federal government down there assisting those victims. But he didn't. You can guess as to why. I can guess as to why. The simple fact of the matter is he didn't. Because it's all political. You look at Newsom. Newsom came out swinging against Trump the day the Palisades fire started. When Biden showed up the day afterwards and had a press conference and was talking about how he was a great-grandfather while everybody's houses were burning around him. But yeah, nobody saw that he was mentally incompetent. And then Newsom, well, it's nice to have a president who I don't have to bow and kiss a ring to. You've never had to bow and kiss a ring. He just wanted you to act reasonably and responsibly for the people that live in your state. Stop giving out all this money for underwater basket weaving and start giving it where it's needed. I'll tell you right now, leftists are losing their minds because they're losing control. When I talk about Harry Sisson at the beginning of the show, just saying anything he possibly can to throw bombs, metaphorically, at Trump, to get that headline out there. It's because they know when it comes down to the real conversation, the real action, when things are getting done, they're going to lose that conversation every single time. That is why we are winning right now as a nation. That is why this administration is letting America win again. It's not hard. It's common sense. And people are freaking out over this. San Clemente, California, on the freeway, there is an ICE checkpoint. It's been there for years. I've been through it a couple times, and I can't tell you the last time I saw it operational. Somebody put this out today.
Santa madre, ahorita vemos qué pedo.
And people are, oh my God. There are ICE agents all over the place again. Yeah, near the southern border. We're trying to get a handle on it. The military's there. Pete Hegseth put out that we want to get full operational control of the border back into the hands of immigration and ICE. Out of the hands of the people who've been running it for the last 4 years, which are the coyotes, which are the cartels. And the military's helping, and they should be. Because we need the help, because it's an invasion. And then you have the people who are pushing back. And again, it has nothing to do with virtues. This is all for politics. This is from Libs of TikTok. Town of East Hartford, Connecticut. East Hartford community. Early today, ICE agents were observed entering a home in East Hartford. We understand there's been a lot of concerns, questions, and alerts circulating in our community recently. It's important, more important than ever, to stay informed. Know your rights. If ICE approaches you in your home, you have the right to remain silent. Refuse to sign anything without speaking to a lawyer. ICE cannot enter your home without a valid warrant signed by a judge. Always ask to see it. Wrong answer. They don't have to show it to you. They just have to know it exists and it's legal. Everyone, regardless of their status, has rights under the Constitution. I've said before and I've said it again. Obstruction of a federal agent's a crime. First of all, giving out information like this, demand to see the warrant. The idea that this is 1922 and everyone's running around with paper warrants is BS. They don't have to show you a paper warrant. They are not obligated to. What they are obligated to is to confirm that there is an active warrant, identify the body that attaches to that warrant, i.e. the person, and that's all they need to do. We have agreements all over states, cities, counties, and federally, when it comes to a warrant, if it's entered into the NCIC system, and which you can only do once it's been signed by a judge. Yes, there is a physical paper copy somewhere, but it does not have to be physically in their hand as they kick in your door. Now, does it happen sometimes? Sure, it does. Do they bring a copy of the warrant in certain situations? They do. Are they required by law to? No, they're not. They're not. And if they screw up, that's a different story, but they're not required to. This is actually, what's funny, and the other boys in the chat room who are in this, when we were in law enforcement and when you worked for a municipality, we were always told never give out legal advice. You are not authorized to give out legal advice. You cannot give out legal advice. Do not give out legal advice. And here you have the town of East Hartford, Connecticut, giving out legal advice that is not accurate legal advice. And I hope somebody sues the tits off of them. I hope this backfires and somebody sues them stupid. Horrible advice. Some other news. We got about 10 minutes left. And Microsoft is now in talks to buy and acquire TikTok, which I posted earlier. I said I thought TikTok was already owned by a Chinese corporation. Why would we want to sell it to a Chinese sympathetic corporation that's just based here in America? Let me ask the chat room this. Will you feel any better about TikTok? I don't care. Like, I have TikTok. I'm the first one to admit it. The Chinese government is not going to be able to obtain anything from me specifically that will benefit them in any sort of way. As a matter of fact, they'll probably look at me and be like, okay, this is a waste of time. Here we go. The sergeant speaking. I worked in warrants for over 2 years and did nothing but felony warrants. I know a bit about warrant service, at least in California. Yes, you do. Would you have more trust in TikTok? Because I know, I understand why a lot of people don't have trust in TikTok. I'm on TikTok, well, for the network more than anything else. We have a TikTok over there, SHR Media 1776. I mean, look, China, Meta, Microsoft, what's the difference? As long as I don't go anywhere where there are classified documents kept. I don't work in a skiff. I don't do anything like that right now. If I did, I would actually consider changing and getting rid of TikTok off my phone. And I know you can't bring personal phones in certain situations, but the simple fact of the matter is, if I did any sort of real work for government, once again, I would not have my phone on me. Or if I worked in an industry where I knew that corporate espionage was an issue, I wouldn't have it on my phone. I don't. I'm a podcaster. You guys all see most of my stuff. I work a day job that's not really overly important to anything that they would be interested in. So I have it. But I'd like to know your feedback, what you think. Will you have more trust in TikTok if it's owned by, quote unquote, an American company? Now, a couple different things. The New York Magazine, once again, trying to do the gotcha BS. Look at how horrible and how racist conservatives are. They put out this headline or this magazine cover. If you can't read it, says the Cruel Kids Table, and the little square is what made the front of the magazine. And you'll notice it's for a picture of one of the Trump celebrations. You'll notice it's all white people. What did they do? And this tells you how underhanded media is, because they do stuff like this all the time. And they do it on purpose. They cut out anybody who is not as white as the text that says the Cruel Kids Table. Those circles that you see, the red circles, those are persons of color. Those are people of color enjoying the party just as much. But they can't allow you to see that. BZ said it's almost immaterial talking about TikTok because the NSA has already been all the U.S. telecom for decades. They'll never admit it. No, they have admitted it, actually. Nothing ever came about. Remember years ago, the spying on Americans thing, and the NSA got caught, and nothing ever happened. So it's, it's your personal choice, I guess. But another bad look from the New York Magazine. Once again, these magazines are not going to be around long because they do shit like this. Interesting this evening at 21:38, that's 9:38 local time on the East Coast, the president called a lid at the White House. 9:30 at night. Now, you remember that between, 9 p.m. and 6 a.m., Biden was pretty much unreachable, right? Remember we were told that? He didn't really, maybe it was 8. It might have been 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. And calling the lid doesn't mean that the president is done working. It just means there's going to be no more communication with the press for the most part. That's really what calling a lid is. There's some nuances, whatever, but that's the vast majority. A couple nights ago, I think it was almost 11:30 at night, and a Marine was still outside the West Wing, the Oval Office, because the Marine has to stand post there while the president's in there working. Again, it matters who your leaders are. Biden didn't have to do it because he wasn't running the country. He could go to bed at 8. Trump golfed this weekend, and he got Colombia to give in on taking illegals back while he was on the golf course. You think Biden was doing any of that from the beach? You saw him on the beach. They had to check his pulse every 20 minutes. Trump, between the 7th and 8th hole, he hadn't even gotten his hot dog yet, halfway through, and he's negotiating with Colombia. While he's playing golf, he's working while he's playing golf. Imagine being able to do two things at once. 11 to 1700 were his available hours. Thank you, Rick. But now we have a president who works late at night, is working on weekends, and this is the stuff that's going to drive the left crazy. Chris Murphy says, Trump is trying to oversaturate us, and Chris Murphy's a senator out of Connecticut. Trump's trying to oversaturate us with nonstop chaos so we can't react meaningfully to one thing. No. And I get it. I think Chris Murphy's I think his job now is to make Adam Schiff look credible, because as time is going on more and more, he's just more and more batshit crazy and unhinged. No, Trump's doing everything he said he was going to do at the pace he was going to do it. He said he was going to go to work right away. There were no days off. Shit was about to get done. And he's doing it, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, Biden had more than 4 months vacation, Sean. It was more than 4 months vacation. I think it was 4 months vacation this last year. But why are they so... If Trump keeps on going at the pace he's at, and the next thing I'm going to play, which I talked about, I think, Wednesday, I hinted at it. But I'm going to play this video, and you tell me. If he does what he says he's going to do in this video, or what he's hinting at, I'll tell you right now, you can inaugurate J.D. Vance. Just start planning this celebration, because this will absolutely change America.
America is going to be very rich again, and it's going to happen very quickly. It's time for the United States to return to the system that made us richer and more powerful than ever before. Do you know the United States in 1870 to 1913, all tariffs, and that was the richest period in the history of the United States, relatively speaking. In other words, relatively. And they set up the Great Tariff Commission of 1887. And this commission had one function: what to do with all the money that we took in. It was so enormous that they had no idea. It was a blue ribbon committee. It was set up 1887. And what to do with all of the money that we had. And again, Teddy Roosevelt was a beneficiary, because when McKinley was killed, he took over this vast sum of money, and he did all of those national parks and all of the other things. And I'm not knocking him, but he was given a vast amount of money, and that was all made through tariffs. We had no income tax. The income tax came in 1913. As I said in my speech last week, instead of taxing our citizens to enrich foreign nations, we should be tariffing and taxing foreign nations to enrich our citizens. Does that make sense, right?
What did he just hint at right there? He just hinted at get rid of federal taxes, or at least income tax. If he did that, first of all, I do firmly believe, and I'm not an economist. I've watched a couple other economists. I firmly believe we'd be better off as a nation. But I'll tell you something right now. If he does that and that passes through Congress and he signs the bill, and yeah, you can just start planning J.D. Vance's inauguration, because that would carry over. Times, they are a-changing, my friend, and it's a good thing. We're starting to be in a good place. And I hope you feel it too. I actually feel it. You know, his last election, I didn't feel it as much because right off the bat, there was all the BS, which is what they intended on doing. There was a lot of great work done in his last presidency, but there was a lot of stuff that got in the way. Now, like I said, he doesn't care, and you and I are going to benefit greatly. That's it right here for the Edge of Liberty on the SHR Media Network. Make sure you check out our friends over at KLRN. Look, like and subscribe, please. It helps us beat the algorithm, and it's over that way. If you really like anything that I did tonight or any other night, do me a favor. Buy me a glass of bourbon. Love bourbon, need bourbon. Bourbon's keeps my sanity. I'll be back Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, right here on the SHR Media Network. Make sure tomorrow night you check out, you check out my good friend BZ on the Berserk Bobcat Saloon. That's 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. This time slot, one day over. Then after him, the next night, same time slot will be me, followed by in the morning, both days, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon on the East Coast. I really should write this down. I'd be way better at it. Mission Ready Men with Big E, my friend. He does his 1 hour show live, and you can also check out all of the podcasts. Look, all of these podcasts you can find anywhere podcasts can be found, even on YouTube Music. You can find us on Apple. You can find us on Stitcher. You can find it. Is Stitcher even around anymore? You can find us on all of them, and all the streaming services too. You just have to look up SHR Media and you will find us. So please check us out, like, subscribe. Like you said, if you hate what I'm doing, come in and yell at me in chat room every week and I can giggle at you. That's it for me. Thank you for joining me. I will see you Wednesday night. Enjoy the rest.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.